I've had since I've been in television, and here's the best way to put it: is relationships and partnerships come to an end, and you got to adjust, and you got to have a different direction for your business and survival. And I give Daiwa a lot of credit because when I made that transition, they were right there, and I hope I could do them a good job for that.
Well, congratulations on your new relationship.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
So while we're talking about this, is there any chance you and I can get back together and do a Zona show down here?
I would love to.
It didn't go real well the last time.
We tried last year to get together and do one, and your schedule, his schedule, my schedule, we kept calling each other. Then basically we would get sidetracked and start talking about something else. And then we would remember that we were trying to schedule something.
Right.
And
I think it all came down to let's just go hunting.
Right. That's pretty much what it was. But,
yeah.
But no, you'll find the fact that Zona and I get along so well is because we get very sidetracked very, very easily. So we might be thinking we're going to go do something, and we're 7 miles away doing something else. So, but it's fun.
And JT I've hung out with, we've hung out together. This is no joke. I've known JT longer than I've known my wife. We hung out way back in the
mid-90s.
The invitational days.
Mid-90s.
Kalijah Creek, Lake Martin, Carolina rigging, Pete Lusick, big win.
And the soot.
Yeah. I remember fishing with UZ up in those Northern Division tournaments.
Yeah.
We used to fish those.
Yeah.
That was pretty amazing. I remember having a hard time getting a word in edgewise like I am right now.
Exactly. Exactly. That's why I'm going to tone it down a little bit. I'm going to tone it down. I've got a lot of 5-hour energy in me right now. Yeah.
That's not what it smells like.
Hey-o.
We just came back from one of those Northern tournament trails. JT made the cut up
Saw
there
that.
in Lake Oneida.
Saw that.
Yeah, had a decent event up there. It was one of those deals where you come in at night and everybody's talking about how many fish they're catching, and I was catching like 8 or 10 or 12 a day. But they
good ones.
They were better fish, and it just ended up working out. Had to catch them different every day, but had a little bit of smallmouth tutelage from somebody.
That's not true. Hey, it's seriously what a lot of the viewers at home don't know is as successful as you've been in the state of Florida, a lot of our younger viewers do not know you're a northern kid.
Oh yeah, originally
you
from Maryland.
started northern fishing.
When I started fishing BFLs and Federation stuff, I was fishing Cayuga and Champlain. That's the BFL division that I started fishing. So I've been fishing a lot of that stuff too. Of course, made the transition, moved to Florida, and all that stuff, and obviously had a lot of success down here.
But that's what a lot of the younger viewers know you as.
Yeah. But honestly, we were doing some kind of media thing not too long ago, and they were pulling up my angler profiles for both BASS and FLW, and most of the top 10, not my wins, but most of the top 10s that I've made, like 52 some top 10s or whatever, most of them have been on northern fisheries.
I know.
More of my wins, first
down
place, have been in Florida.
Yeah.
But most of my top 10s have actually been on northern fisheries. I like it up there.
What's interesting, when he was up there at Oneida, I was actually, and I don't want to really get into it, but I was up on the St. Lawrence River and Lake Ontario that week. I knocked out 2 Zona shows. Did it
rain as much up there?
It was unbelievable, man. Hey, man, it was like
every day.
It was like Nirvana Smells Like Teen Spirit Seattle weather. And the other side of it was that typical Thousand Islands where it's a southwest 15 to 30 mile per hour. I did make it out for one show out at the Ducks. Made it out to the Ducks.
Wow.
But here's what I will say, and like I said, I can't give a lot of this away for that tournament. When I taped in the river, I have never seen French Creek Marina
underwater,
surrounded by water.
Wow,
that's amazing.
That much.
What's strange is we fished there since we were 17 years old.
Right.
It didn't look like the same playing field. So,
wow,
guys, I want to stop in. I love you, Pete. I love Mike, Brian the Carpenter. More than that, friend. I miss you. I gotta go.
Hey,
have a great iCast.
Before you go,
yeah.
I got a question for both you and JT.
Okay.
What color beaver style bait is the favorite for punching?
I gotta go. I'm done. I can already tell. It's Thursday at iCast, which means tonight it's on.
Thank you, Z. Appreciate you stopping by,
See you
buddy.
in a few hours, buddy.
I
hope we remember it.
JT, that question still applies to you.
No, definitely. The punching stuff basically is most of it is a complete reaction bite. I don't put a whole lot of faith into color. I don't throw anything like pink or anything crazy. But if you're in that black and blue to green pumpkin range, dude, that's all you need. I mean, it's just literally punching something, going shoo, flying by them. Fish don't have hands to go like this. A fish's reaction is to bite it. Mm-hmm. So if you're in any of that pumpkin, green pumpkin, black and blue, probably 90% of the time I'm flipping something black and blue. Best answer.
Good answer. Good answer for a guy that does a lot of flipping and pitching. And I know you did really well up at Oneida. And boy, that lake just buries me every year. Every year I've only fished it 3 times, but I've been buried every time.
You know, that's the second time I've done good there. The first time I did good there, dude, I was running across the lake one day and they come up school and I caught like 18 pounds.
Yeah.
So that doesn't even count. To me, that doesn't even count. But this time, I wasn't catching a whole lot of fish in practice. But I'd found a couple of schools where, you know, I'd thrown a little swim bait out there and just, you know, reeling it on the outside edge of that grass, catch one, and it's one of those what I'm going to call the right ones. I'm not talking about it's a 5-pounder. Mm-hmm. It's just that 3.5 and
little above average.
Instead of the 3.1, 3.2, 3.3s, it's like a 3.8 or a 3.9. But it has that fat chin and like that humped head.
Yeah.
You know, like it's those thick ones.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And I found a couple of places where they were like that. Didn't catch a bunch. One of them, when I caught it, there was probably 20 with it.
Wow.
You know, but instead of throwing back in there, I just kicked the trolling motor on high, and one of our friends was in the back of the boat, and he's trying to throw back there. And I explained to him that if his lure hits the water back there in that area, that there's probably going to be, let's say, some issues in our friendship.
It did.
So he neglected to do that, and I found
was that Justin fishing with you that day?
Yeah, and I found a couple more places like that where you know I just kind of buzzed through someplace and didn't try to fish it. You know, just catch and those right ones. You know, the thick-throated ones, and you know, just found a couple of those. But the funny thing is, I found them all in practice on a small swim bait, little swim bait on jig head. First day of the tournament, I caught every fish I weighed in the first hour of the day on a topwater bait. On a big topwater bait.
No kid.
Second day, couldn't get a bite on the topwater bait. Caught him on a hodgepodge of stuff, except I didn't catch any on the topwater and still hadn't caught any on the swim bait that I found all the fish on in practice. Like I said, the second day I caught a couple on a jerk bait. I caught a couple throwing a Gambler Ace out there weightless. When it got slick and calm the second afternoon, I caught a couple doing that. I think I might have caught one on a Carolina rig.
Wow.
Just like a hodgepodge
really
of stuff.
It up.
And then the final day, you know, it was really other than the guy catching the 20 pounds.
Right.
It was really tough the final day, even though I only had not even quite 16 pounds. I had one of the best bags on the final day. Caught every one of them on the swim bait that I caught them on in practice, but didn't catch them on either of the first 2 days of the tournament.
And that describes Lake Oneida to me. I mean, it is a dynamic, ever-changing little fishery.
It really, you hit that on the head. But it really was, and I think just, you know, that normal cliche saying, whatever, of staying open-minded, but it really was, it really was that. Like, you know, if I would have just stuck with, you know, that swim bait the first day, you know, I might not have caught a big bag the first day. If I would have stuck with the topwater the second day, I might not have caught a big bag the second day. You know, I just kind of hodgepodge it together. So I just think a lot of it was, I think like the real key to it was like understanding what we said about the right fish.
Right.
Once again, those thick-throated, hump-headed ones, you know, that are gonna weigh 4 or 5 ounces. But a 17-inch one of those is gonna weigh 4 or 5 ounces more than a 17-inch regular normal fish. And I think just understanding when I caught one of those that, hey, that's an area that I need to go back and full with, rather than a place where I caught a couple of 17-inchers that only weighed 3 pounds instead of 3.5.
That's the thing a lot of people don't, you know, they think when you're out winning a tournament or doing well, like you're catching all 5-pounders. And, you know, it's
not like that.
Most often you're catching just slightly above average size fish.
Especially northern fisheries.
Right.
Especially northern fisheries. It was about 25 places per pound.
Right.
In that event.
That's crazy.
So after 2 days, the guy in 50th probably only had 2 pounds less than the guy leading the tournament.
That's amazing.
Yep.
That's amazing, and that was the truth. And I came in with only 3 fish on day 1. You're not recovering from that.
Not on a fishery like that. It's
on a fishery
unfortunate.
like that. Yeah.
Some of these southern fisheries, where 12, 13 pounds gets a check, but there's that opportunity for a 27 or 28 pound bag. At least you feel like you're telling me there's a chance.
Yeah.
Where
exactly.
on a northern fishery like that, you're done.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate to try to stay into it, but you had a lot of trouble in practice. You had boat trouble. You were scrambling around looking for a boat. Thank goodness you found a cool dude that would give you a boat to use and everything.
Cool.
But that was
thank you, Kevin.
That was hard.
Yeah.
That kind of messes up your mojo, messes up your rhythm.
My mojo,
it's hard to come
my
back.
mojo was messed up. There's no doubt, but I can't. I really had always admired the guys that had that problem, broke down, and still done well.
Yeah.
Had those things happening and still done well. And I have done well before, but this time it just didn't work out in my benefit. But how many times has that happened in our derbies?
Oh yeah.
Guy breaks down and catches the winning fish.
Yep. Well, I don't know about winning fish, but I've had it distinctly happen to me one time at a Bassmaster event on Lake Martin in Alabama. I took off in the morning, first morning of the tournament, blew my motor up, like 100 yards out of the gate, and we figured out what the problem was. But anyway, went back and it's back when we were pro on pro.
Yeah. Invitational days.
So the guy I was rooming with, he was riding with the other guy, so his boat was sitting back at the hotel. So I went back, got his boat, restarted, took off, got 100 yards out, blew it up.
Come on now.
Oh, yeah, and it was when there was a problem with the warm-up procedure. It was a really cold day.
Yeah.
And there was a problem with the warm-up procedure on the motors, which the procedure was I didn't let it warm up long enough.
Wow.
But anyway, I ended up finishing like 6th or 7th in that tournament because I'd just blown the second boat up. That was all the only boats
but
there
hey,
was.
that's a good place to be stuck right there at the launch ramp.
I put the trolling motor down, fished around all day, and ended up catching a decent bag of fish.
Yeah.
And, of course, the second day, even though my boat was fixed, now I know where there's fish.
Yep.
So I stuck around there and had finished in the top 10, had a great tournament.
Yeah.
So that was all because of
a failure, because of a breakdown. So the point is, you can't use that as an excuse. I mean, everybody in this tournament fishing game has to deal with it, man. Your equipment's going to fail. You're going to get stuck, stranded, trolling motor, sonar. I won. That's a great deal. I won Cayuga. I had no GPS. I had no sonar on the console. I had a backup Garmin sonar that I dug out of my truck. Everything failed. It's like my whole electronics fried.
Wow.
And I had about as big as that camera over there, and it had a sunspot that blocked 70% of the screen. So I could see how deep the water was, and I could see if there was a stalk of grass under my boat. That's all I could see. And I wound up winning that tournament. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, so it's breakdowns are part of this game, and you got to be able to deal with it. But I was impressed, even after fishing with Justin and how distracting that must have been for you, that you were able to do well in that tournament. You can't hear this now, but we'll play the feedback for the playback.
I don't know if it was Justin or Jared, which one was worse, but it was an interesting time for sure.
I'm sure that was a bit of a handful, but anyway, hey, Brian the Carpenter dumped a pile of stuff on the table, and I see these are Nichols lures.
Right, yeah, these are some lures from Nichols. The main thing I want to show you is one of the things that I'm really proud of this jig. One of the things, and I know you understand this, Pete, but I'm just trying to help for the people at home. A lot of times people say, what's your favorite jig? For what? Because there's not a jig.
Yeah.
That can
Everyone has a job.
There's some out there that can do several things well.
Mm-hmm.
But there's not one out there that can do everything well. You just can't. It's not going to happen. I designed this jig, and I've been working on this design, no bull crapping, for 15 years, really. And I think we finally actually got it right. And this jig right here will go through grass and reeds better than anything I have ever seen. As a matter of fact, I was doing some filming on this thing the other day, and I know you guys won't know who this is, but there's a guy named Mikey Balls. He's my cameraman, my publicist. He films a lot of videos with me, and he hates every product that I endorse. I don't know what it is. It just he does. He hates if I endorse it, he hates it. And it's just kind of a big joke between us. So we're down on Okeechobee, and I'm flipping the outside edge of the reeds with this jig, and he said, "Jake," he calls me Jake. He said, "That's pretty impressive." So for him to say that, but just how easily it comes in and out of the reeds and in and out of the grass so efficiently.
Hey, JT, show that to the Zoom camera.
That would be
there. It is.
That one right there. But the design of that, you can see it has a vertical line tie instead of most jigs have a horizontal line tie. And what I mean by a vertical line tie is the line tie is like this instead of like this. And then the streamlined head, but it comes back and gets very wide. And we actually got it to where it'll still stand up. So when you have your trailer on the back, it still stands up. It doesn't roll over as much. But this is more for plowing through the grass.
Yeah.
But it really is. But I will, and kind of think everybody in this industry knows this about me. If it's a spade, I'm calling it a spade. I kind of tell it how it is. I promise you, if you throw this jig into a pile of brush, what you need to do right before you throw it into a brush pile, just bite it off and throw it in there, because it's not coming back. But it's not. It doesn't say Brush Wizard jig on the package. But it's true.
That's next year's
vertical
model.
line tie. Oh no, we have a brush jig too.
Okay.
But a vertical line tie, which is when the line ties like this, gets hung up in all the little crevices
crotches
and twigs and crotches and stuff. It won't come through brush at all, but it will snake through grass like it's nobody's business.
Outstanding.
But yeah, it's the JT Kenney Grass Wizard jig. Like I said, it's the best grass jig out there. Obviously, we put a great hook in it, all that stuff. We put a very, very heavy fiber weed guard in it, purposely so you can cut some of it out. That's why we went to a very, very heavy one.
Okay.
So you can cut it down to whatever you want
you
it to be. It gives you the opportunity. If you like a real stiff one, you got a real stiff one right there. If you like a real limber one, cut a bunch of them out.
Yep.
You do whatever you want with it. That's why we went with the real heavy one in there to give you the option of customization.
Awesome.
So,
well,
but yeah, that's the Grass Wizard jig. I mean,
it's an awesome looking jig. I look forward to getting out and throwing it around. But I got an important question about jig fishing in general that you got to answer for me. When we first started going to Florida, you never took your jigs. Everybody told you leave your jigs at home.
Yep.
You can't catch a bass in Florida on a jig. You've got to use Texas rig soft plastics.
That's right.
And that's it.
Yep.
Now every major tournament's being won on a jig. Were they duping me back then by telling me that or
nobody ever threw a jig? There was one tournament that I can't remember. I remember it was a dude from North Carolina did real good on a jig. And I remember everybody thinking, "Oh yeah, bull crap! Blah blah blah." That isn't what he was throwing, but he probably was. But I think one of the main things why people didn't throw a jig down there was until we had good grass designed heads, a jig was very inefficient to fish in all that grass.
Right.
So you know, just like you've heard me talk about on Bass University about being efficient.
Mm-hmm.
That has a lot to do with being successful, whether you're just out there for a day of fun fishing or you're out there, competing like we do at some of the highest levels of the sport. You have to be efficient.
Right.
And the more efficient you are, the more cast you're going to get in, the more cast you're going to get in. If I'm picking grass off my jig every single time that I'm throwing it out there, that's 2 casts I should have had instead of 1.
Right.
So in theory, I'm getting twice as many casts. Yeah. So I think that's one thing that we, one of the reasons
better
why
jig
we
designs.
Better jig designs is some of it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, it's amazing to see because, for so many years it was that way. But now we're seeing all them monster bags.
Yeah.
And they're coming out with and I'm a lot of monster jigs, like just oversized jigs.
Yeah, and I think a lot of what it is too is it's a big profile bait that we're making these heavy weights to get a reaction fall. So my point being, so if you have an ounce or an ounce and a quarter jig, but you have a great big skirt on it and a great big chunk on it, and you're throwing it on 25-pound, fluorocarbon line, it's still falling probably at the same rate as say a half or a 3/4 with a more slender chunk and a little bit less skirt on it.
Mm-hmm.
So you're still getting like that what I'd call a 3/4 ounce rate of fall.
Right.
But with so much bigger of a skirt and so much bigger of a trailer, you need some more lead.
Right.
Basically to get it down there. So that's, and I mean, don't get me wrong. It helps to have a heavy jig. To sometimes we get what we call little trash mats. Like sometimes we flip big hyacinth mats in Florida, but sometimes we get just blown up in those reed heads, little trash mats. It's just little thin little mats, but you actually want to poke down through them. Mm-hmm. So that little bit heavier lead allows you to do that a lot easier too.
Well, next time I come to Florida, I'll be bringing my jigs.
Yes,
and
should.
And doing that. Now, maybe I'll get some of these grass wizard jigs and do it, but you're going to be taking these jigs. Well, there's not that much grass, or is there? At the Cup, is Lake Murray got grass in it?
I've been there for a day and a half.
Yeah.
And then I'm going back as soon as this show's over. I'm going back up there, and I'm going to get another 4 days in of pre-fishing for it.
Okay.
There's a lot of grass in Lake
Is
Murray
that right
now. Yeah.
The last time I fished it, the grass was eradicated.
Yes. Last time I was there, it was as well. The Cup,
Yeah.
whatever, 3 or 4 years. We have the same places all the time, so
Yep.
whatever. 3 or 4 years ago, there wasn't any grass. There is a lot of shoreline grass, a lot of, I don't know what it's called. I just call it bank grass type stuff.
Yep.
But there's 10.5 feet of water on the outside edge of it, and you know that fish like to get shallow come late summer when the Cup's going to be.
Yep.
Early summer, we all start chasing them out there deep.
Yep.
But late summer, they start coming back up shallow again because of the stagnation of the oxygen in the water and everything. So there's a lot of that, and there's also, it's kind of an odd thing, and I'm sure you've seen it before, but a lot of times we call it pondweed. It's this real stringy kind of tall grass. Every place in the middle section of Lake Murray right now, from like 9 to 11 feet, has a band of that pondweed all the way around it.
Huh.
Just following that 9 to 11 foot contour. Wherever that contour is, there's a band of grass like 3 or 4 feet high off the bottom.
Wow.
But it's that stringy pondweed, like you can't even hardly get a lure through it. Like if your lure touches it, it's just
fouls it.
Yeah, it's just messed up. But so that's going to be an interesting little thing thrown in there. But I'm pretty sure there'll be it'll be a schooling bass. It's a clear reservoir in the summertime, so there'll be a schooling bass bite. And then there'll definitely be a shallow bite around the banks too, and I'll be trying to employ, both of those really.
Right. Well, it's great fishery. I mean, even when the grass was gone, I mean,
when there was grass in there, it was really good.
It puts out bass.
25-pound bag.
Yeah. So it's going to be great. It's going to be interesting to see how you do.
I don't think we're going to see any 25-pound bags in August.
Okay.
No, I don't think so.
Well, it's true. I mean, isn't everybody, except when you get up to the Canadian border,
Right.
It seems like every body of water is at its worst at August.
August and September is pretty bad.
Yeah. Well, everybody's in the same boat. I hope you do well up there. I know we'll be pulling for you.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. Anytime you can get you get to fish a tournament like that. And of course I have to throw this in because I do it for a living, and you get a no entry fee tournament with a guaranteed $10,000 payback and the potential for $300,000.
Yeah.
You gotta be into it. You gotta be excited about it. And I don't care how many years in a row I've made it or whatever. Blah 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 blah. You still get a little bit jacked up.
Heck, it's $300,000 is the winning purse now.
Yep, $300,000.
Wow. Well, that's
and they
a good
pay.
deal.
I think there's 50 guys in it, and it's the last place guy gets $10,000. So you're still going to get a pretty decent payday.
Yeah.
If you don't catch anything at all, you're still. And it just kind of marks that you had a decent season. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Not great, but you had a decent season.
Well, that's good, and I wish you all the best of luck down there, and I'll see you at the James River coming up real soon. And
some little birdie back here told me that there might be this booth might possibly be floating around at the Forest Wood Cup as well.
It's very possible.
I have heard such rumblings.
Yes, it's possible we will be broadcasting again from the FLW.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll be covering you as the champ.
I hope that you do not ever get to talk to me until the final weigh-in.
It's bad luck?
No, because if you're talking to me, then that means I've been eliminated.
Yes.
Right. So I don't want to talk to you until Sunday afternoon. You got Pete, you got me?
I got you.
You got me?
I'm with you.
I do not want to talk to you until Sunday afternoon.
We'll see you on Sunday afternoon. with the holding the cup. I want you to bring the actual cup.
If I have the cup, there's going to be Miller Lite beer in it. And we are all going to toast.
We will all chug right out
of the Forrest Wood cup. And I'm going to have Forrest himself with me, and he's taking a shot out of it too. That's how we're going down.
I love that. I mean, they've been doing it with the Stanley Cup forever and ever. You never see anybody chugging out of the Forrest Wood Cup.
If it comes down on my shoulders,
Yep.
I feel it my duty as this angler to hold up the Forrest Wood Cup Championship, hold it high, represent our sport as best I can, and to get hammered out of the Forrest Wood Cup. It is my duty.
And it will be our duty as representatives of Bass University to join you in that endeavor. But hey, great luck in the cup. Thanks again for being here, buddy. And,
anytime, man.
Yeah, it's always good. Good luck with the jig. I keep wanting
Grass Wizard.
The Grass Wizard. I want to call it the Jig Wizard.
Right.
The Grass Wizard by Nichols. You can get these at our Bass University Tackle Shop and also at Tackle Warehouse. And that's not one of them right there.
Yeah, that's the other one.
That's the other one.
These.
That's the Grass Wizard.
These.
And this is the Grass Wizard right here. And we're going to be back here in just a little while. We're going to take a little bit break. We're going to be back live from iCast with some more great stuff, some more great products. I'm Pete Gluzak for Bass University TV.